The garbage that's passing around the internet about what do we do if we have a $10,000 less purchase price, and is it better to pay interest down, is it better to take a lower purchase price, and all that garbage. So I want to break it down in a couple of different ways. But the first thing I want to talk to you about is the logic behind dropping $10,000 in a purchase price and what that looks like in a monthly payment. We got to think about it this way. If I have a purchase price of $350,000, that's the number I'm going to use through this whole scenario, and I offer $340,000 instead. I've dropped that $350,000 to $340,000, $10,000, right? We're talking about this $10,000 number. Think about it this way: over a 30-year period of time, if I want to give you a loan for $10,000 and I say, hey, you can pay that back over the next 30 years, how small is that monthly payment going to be? Teeny tiny. It's going to be a teeny tiny payment. So when we think about that $10,000 difference of that purchase price, is it better for us to take it in a lower purchase price amount, or is it better for us to utilize that $10,000 a different way? And I want to walk through a couple scenarios. I'm not sure where I'm going to fit on the screen, so if I disappear off the screen, I'm still going to be talking to you, so hang in there with me. So I wrote this all out because I didn't want to waste the time writing. So here we are. Here's our facts. $350,000 or $340,000 on our purchase price. That's what we're talking about. And we're doing an FHA loan with down payment assistance. The reason why I chose FHA is a constant when it comes to mortgage insurance. Conventional has a ton of moving parts. My credit score, my debt ratio, my loan to value, all that stuff change that mortgage insurance on conventional. It's almost impossible to put all those scenarios together. So FHA stays constant. There's an upfront mortgage insurance premium, there's a monthly mortgage insurance premium. It's all based off of a percentage of whatever that purchase price and loan amount end up being. So it's pretty simple to do. Quick calculation changes. So here we go. Scenario number one. 5.875% note rate, using a 3.5% down payment assistance. We're in Idaho, so Idaho's an awesome program. Using a purchase price of $350,000, the seller's going to be $10,500 in closing costs. I've stayed within that 3% number. Seller can actually pay up to 6%, but I'm for the comparison purposes, I'm staying within the 3%. So seller's paying 3%, which is $10,500 in closing costs. We're going to do a down payment assistance of $12,250 at a payment of basically $111. Our principal and interest only. We still have taxes and insurance and mortgage insurance we have to add, so keep that in mind. But our principal and interest on our first is $2,033, so that ends up being about a $2,144 payment on principal and interest only between the two of them. And in 5 years, I'm going to pay about $147,000 in the whole list of stuff: interest, principal, mortgage insurance, the stuff that goes into that number. Side note, I hate the loan estimate and the closing disclosure that it explains it this way. Love the old-fashioned truth in lending because it actually explained it better in my eyes, but you know, that's me on my own little soapbox, and will let me get off my soapbox now. Anyways, down payment, $500. Pretty good gig, right? Okay, so now let's change it to a purchase price of $340,000. I keep my interest rate still at the 5.875. I'm still using a 3.5% down payment assistance. My purchase price though turns to $340,000 because now we're taking that $10,000 a different direction. The seller pays $0 in closing costs because we dropped that out of the purchase price. My down payment assistance has to increase because I need my closing costs and my down payment financed in because we want to keep our $500 down payment requirement. And now my principal and interest for my whole down payment assistance and closing cost assistance is about $226. And my principal and interest on my first is $1,975, which turns into $2,201. Look at that. About what? $60 worth of a payment increase from 40 or a $340 purchase price and a $350 purchase price. Our $10,000 is making that much difference in our monthly payment only. Now let's see what we can do if we take that money from the seller and utilize it for a permanent rate buy down. I don't want you to get confused on the temporary rate buy down. I hate temporary rate buy downs. Hate them. I think they're terrible. Once again, a little soapbox. But permanent rate buy down, and let's just see what that does. And then I'm going to blow your mind with another thought process. Okay, so we keep our purchase price at the $350,000. So we're still using our $10,000 from the seller in just a little bit of a different way. I'm going to now use a 7% down payment assistance instead of 3.5. I'm now borrowing my closing costs, and I'm borrowing my down payment. Also, but I'm using that 10 grand from the seller just a little bit differently. I'm going to take that and I'm going to say $350,000, seller pays 3% towards a permanent rate buy down. Permanent. We bought it, it's staying there unless we refinance it. I've bought my rate at 5.125, from 5.875 to 5.125. Why isn't it a full percent? Why isn't it a full 3%? Yeah, it's not dollar for dollar. Sorry. He who has the gold makes the rules, and once again, we know it's not this chick. I would love the gold because I think I would have different rules. Maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't. Anyways, Down payment assistance becomes this big guy, $24,500. My monthly payment on that guy becomes $221.93. Principal and interest on my first, though, drops to $1,872. Look at this in comparison. 2033, 1975, 1872. Why? Because my rate is that much lower. So on my long 30-year mortgage out, my big loan, my monthly payment is lower because I have a lower rate. Overall interest in the first 5 years, $137.40, $425. Not a huge savings when you look at the whole thing. I mean, it's there. There's savings, definitely not something to like lose sleep or get extra sleep for. I don't know. But overall outgoing ends up being better, $2,094. So we look at the scenario of how we use that $10,000. We've got the $10,000 somewhere into our equation, but when we look at how we've used it the right way, $2,094, $2,200, $2,144, it's cheaper for us to take the seller's money, buy down the rate. Now, the thing you have to remember about these down payment assistance loans, they are their own loan. So you're paying a first mortgage, principal, interest, tax, insurance, mortgage insurance payment in your first mortgage, the big chunk. And then you've got this little down payment assistance second mortgage it's its own payment. And so if you dump every little chunk of money you have extra, you do a little side gig, get $500, throw it towards that down payment assistance. You have a little, like, I donate plasma, throw it towards that down payment assistance. I get my tax refund, throw it towards that down payment assistance. Get that thing paid down, and then look what happens. Your $221 gets paid off once you get that $24,000 gone, and your total outgoing drops to that $1,872 principal and interest only. That's pretty awesome. I mean, you could do the same thing up here too. You could still like nickel and dime that second mortgage down payment assistance loan and get rid of it pretty quickly. But at the end of the day, this is where the gold sits, is taking the money from the seller. Now, I want you to think about this one other thing that's kind of a little bit of a side note. On an FHA loan, the seller can contribute up to 6%. So if you find a home that's been on the market for some time, or hey, seller, if you've got a home that's been on the market for some time, start ponying up some more shekels, right? We can get 6%. So what if we have 3% for a permanent rate buy down? The seller contributes another 3% to go towards your closing fees, because that's 6%, and we're only doing a down payment assistance chunk on just the 3.5% down you need on that FHA loan. That is not even a scenario I have up here, but that, my friends, would be beautiful. But let's talk about one step further about what makes this so much prettier if you're in your, I can't say forever home because there's not a lot of forever homes out there, but if you're in a situation like, I really could live here the rest of my life and I'm okay, prep a little bit for the future. How can I save some money? I want to show you this. And this, my friends, is why I like sticky notes. Isn't that great? Okay, so in our scenario that I just threw on the floor, our worst case payment is $2,200. We know that, right? We added it all together. Our worst case payment is $2,200. Our best case is $2,094. The difference between that, about $100. Okay, I'm not going to fight over $6. About $100. What if, no matter what we did, we just kept paying that $2,200? That's just what we paid in a principal and interest on the whole life of the loan. If I paid an extra $100 a month, I would pay my house off at least 3 years early. And do you know how much money I would save over the interest? Just by $100, guys. Just $100 a month. All right, $100. 3 years, and you're talking savings of like $42,000 in interest. Right now, sadly, that's almost like purchasing a car, but you know, it is what it is. So, and if we take just the $100, that's great. What if we take the amount of money we were paying in our down payment assistance monthly payment on top of that $100? It's like $300. What happens here? That's a lot of years earlier that we're getting things paid off. So at the end of the day, I just want you to understand, when we're talking this $10,000 or $15,000 or $12,000, whatever we can get from the seller's side of things that they've worked into their equation, let's utilize it the right way. If somebody's automatically just putting you into a 2-1 permanent buy down right now, no. Ask some questions. Now, when interest rates were 7.5% and 8%, I could talk to you all day long about maybe doing a 2-1 buy down because the chances of the interest rates dropping were definitely significant. We're sitting in the mid to upper 5s and low 6s between the FHA and the conventional programs. The chances of the rates going much lower are pretty slim. We're going to see them go down probably a little bit more, but not as much as everybody thinks. So the 2-1 buy down right now puts you into a really, really low payment. We're going to go to episode 2 on that But let's make sure we're talking permanent rate buy down only. On an FHA loan, we want to utilize 6% of the seller's funds that they can kick in. Now, I want to tell you one quick thing as we're talking about FHA and conventional. FHA has a pretty bad reputation. I closed on a borrower, their credit scores were 783. You see a 783 credit score, that's a conventional credit score all day long, not even a question. But we permanently bought their interest rate down to 4.625. Permanently, 4.625. Who paid for it? The seller. They have a permanent rate buy down of 4.625. The seller kicked in the 6%. Now, we couldn't have done that on conventional because conventional maxed us at 3%. So in order for us to utilize that full 6% from the seller, we had to go FHA, but out of it, we gained a 4.625 rate. And you better believe I ran the numbers of a permanent rate down of 4.625 with the upfront mortgage insurance, the monthly mortgage insurance that doesn't go away, and compared it to a conventional non-mortgage insurance upfront premium, a mortgage insurance premium per month that's a little bit different, and also the interest rate adjustments that go on, and the fact that we could only buy it down so far, and the extra money they'd have to bring to the closing table, or the down payment assistance we had to go tacking on to the end. There's so much math. And for all you math teachers out there, just as a side gig, this is like algebra. You know, I'm always solving for X. So algebra I loved in school. Geometry I failed at. I'm not sure why I feel like I need to tell you this, but algebra, solving for X, which is this, is permanent, temporary, better on the interest rate buy down. Is that $10,000 better to take off the price, or $10,000, is it better to put it towards the interest rate somewhere? At the end of the day, it's all some sort of a math calculation. Me as a loan officer, I can calculate it all for you. So with that being said, I just want you to think about the opportunity that you have out there. It is kind of a buyer's market right now, and it's getting more and more and more a buyer's market. And what we want to make sure that we're prepared for is utilizing all of the funds that are sitting there on homes that have sat for a long time, and sellers that really truly need to sell, and sellers that do have substantial equity and they have the ability to kick in a little bit of their money to be able to help the closing table happen for both parties. Anyways, with that, I hope this made sense. I know I talked really fast. I'm going to put that sign back up really quick. I'm going to step out of the screen and take it back up there so that you can screenshot it, so that you can actually study it. Luckily, this is recorded so you can watch it again. I get excited, as you can tell, because this is the stuff that I love the most about teaching people. How do we make sure that we are utilizing funds properly? How are we getting our best bang for our buck? And how are we making sure we've set up for success when it comes to getting a home? So let me hurry and add that back on there so that you can take a screenshot of it, and then you can look at the whole thing. And if you've got any questions, you can Google my name, Deborah Criddle, Regal Mortgage, Idaho Falls. You can find me. All my information is plastered all over the internet. Now, as a side note, if you search Deborah Criddle and you find a European horse person, that's not me. Deborah Criddle, European horse person, not me. Deborah Criddle, Mortgage Queen, that's me. Let me grab this sign. Here we go. Isn't that pretty? Take a picture of that, screenshot it, then you can figure it out from there. And with that being said, Mortgage Queen out. Hope you learned something. Thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate it. So stay tuned. We are going to learn some more next time.